Inspection for evidence of pest infestations. Inspection should be performed in a structured and systematic manner. Pest presence and/or signs of pest presence. Pests do not infest uniformly. They focus on specific areas. These sites must be located. Health, safety, and environmental risks. During the inspection, it is also of importance to identify and record any health, safety, and environmental risk factors that could impact the treatment of the worksite. The treatment site, whether an outdoor area or inside a structure, usually contains other living organisms such as people, animals, and plants, as well as non-living surroundings such as air, water, structures, objects, and surfaces. You therefore need to determine the site-specific needs and requirements. Sensitive or special facilities such as food handling or processing facilities, schools, hospitals, and veterinary clinics usually have specific needs and requirements. The basic components of an inspection process. Before any pest management process can be administered, you must inspect the various buildings and installations in a structured and systematic manner as follows. Do a walk-through visual inspection of all areas of the building, inside and outside. Gather information from occupants or staff and use various types of monitoring traps to help identify where the pests are hiding. Visual inspection. No area in a structure should be excluded from inspection. You should have access to all areas. Use blueprints or create a floor plan of the building showing all rooms, sensitive areas, points of entry, etc., and become familiar with the entire structure. Record any evidence of pests and related information that may prove useful. For example, noting the location of pipes, ducts, cables, telephone lines, and all other utility lines leading into the structure. Make special notes on kitchen and bathroom areas. Pay close attention to general structural maintenance in all areas and note any areas where pests may possibly enter the structure. Inspect the exterior of the structure by walking through the entire area, noting the location of such things as dustbins and dumpsters, drains, air conditioners, and planters. Pay close attention to sanitation problems, for example, overflowing dustbins or dumpsters, moisture problems, etc. Note any area where pests may enter the structure or where they may be living outside. Certain areas are more prone to pests than others and will require more intensive inspections. Visual inspection guidelines. Use a bright flashlight and a magnifying glass during your inspection. Do not look for the pests themselves. Also look for other evidence of pests, such as droppings, the presence of feeding debris or tiny wood shavings produced by wood borers referred to as frass, gnawing tracks and grease marks, damage such as powder from beetle exit holes, and shed insect skins. Examine windowsills as many pests fly or crawl towards light. Also check inside ceiling light fixtures. Pests may be found behind baseboards, under furniture, behind moldings, in cracks in floors, behind radiators, or in air ducts. Check around door frames for cockroaches and spider webs. Spiders often spin their webs across gaps around doors to capture insects trying to enter. Gathering information from occupants or staff members. During inspections, ask the occupants or staff members if they have seen any pests or signs of pest infestation. In the case of commercial or industrial accounts, evidence of pests should be reported by staff members and recorded in the pest sighting logbook. Monitoring traps. A monitoring program involves trapping, sighting, and recording observations. Pests captured on sticky traps can be used to pinpoint areas and levels of infestations. Removing signs of infestation, for example droppings, nesting material, and infested items, repairing pest damage, and then checking for reoccurrence may also be used to determine ongoing pest activity. A record of monitoring data should be maintained. Three major types of monitoring traps are sticky traps, which use an adhesive to capture insects, pheromone traps, which use chemical attractants to draw certain species of pests into the trap, and insect blacklights, which use ultraviolet light to lure and capture certain flying insects. Keep careful records of all inspection findings and trap catches. Record what was found, where it was found, when it was found, and whether it was found alive or dead. Bear in mind that once the pest is found, and before you can make any recommendations, the pest must be positively identified. The inspection report. After you have concluded the inspection, you need to submit a report containing your findings and recommendations in order for the customer to decide what to do. The report submitted to the customer should include the following: the status of the pest infestation of the various buildings, vulnerabilities identified, recommendations based on findings like the initial cleanup procedure to be implemented, the procedures to close off all entry points for pests, routine monitoring and reporting procedures, and the estimated costs for the above. Recommendations may include, but are not limited to, sealing doors, windows, or other potential pest entries into buildings, repairing leaky taps or pipes, improving sanitation practices and or trash management in and around facilities, eliminating pest harborage by sealing cracks or gaps that can lead into pest living spaces, eliminating pest harborage and facilitating better inspections by reducing clutter, the use of baits or traps where pest populations are present, use of a pesticide to eliminate a pest infestation, selection and maintenance of landscape plants that discourage pest problems. It is very important that the problem is understood by both the pest management professional and the customer before recommendations are made. The recommendation should not only include what the pest management professional can do for the customer, but also what the customer can do in the way of habitat removal, sanitation, etc. to make the control effort a more successful and lasting one. The report has to be submitted to the customer. Only upon instruction from the customer shall the recommended pest management procedures be implemented. Responsibilities and legal implications. Misidentification of a pest. Misidentification of a pest and the resultant incorrect management strategy could result in prosecution for misuse of a pesticide. At the very least, it will damage the pest management professional's reputation, resulting in a lack of confidence by the public. Due diligence and reasonableness. The customer, business or institution that appoints a pest management professional to inspect their premises for pests is fully within their rights to expect competent and professional service and reporting within the expectation of due diligence. The skilled professional must supply the information required that will enable the customer to make a fully informed and educated decision. Many inspections come under close scrutiny and open themselves to conjecture because there is not enough supporting information and documented evidence as to the findings or experience or sound opinion given by the pest management professional. Most of these would fail the test for reasonableness and therefore also the execution of due diligence on behalf of the pest management professional. Due diligence and reasonableness therefore begs the question: have you exercised the due diligence relevant to the situation, and would your process pass a test for reasonableness? In other words, what reasonable steps did you take or recommend in writing to the best of your ability and expertise to ensure that you have exercised due diligence? It is also important to remember that statements in terms and conditions and under headings such as latent defect and inaccessible are statements of standing and not a defense. Latent defect serves to accommodate an expectation that the status will change and re-inspection and reporting is required. Inaccessible must be supported by comprehensive information and, where possible, photographic confirmation. By way of example, if you do not have permission to remove or lift a carpet that covers a suspected floor, then the report must clearly state that permission was denied or not afforded for the inspected floor.